What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 10 biggest mistakes that you should avoid in Path of Exile 2. In my opinion, POE 2 is not difficult but very punishing, so being aware of that and avoiding the biggest mistakes may save you countless of hours of grinding, and just overall improve your experience. Making a mistake once is okay, but making those mistakes continuously will destroy your gameplay and the main storyline. It will be very difficult for you to start over a new game, because it will be too late to understand your mistakes and their consequences. So if you're ready to learn and avoid them, then let's get right into it. So first off, we will take a look at the passive skill tree, and how many players spend them wrong. The skill tree is the symbol of every RPG. Without skills, your character will be incomplete. But the question is, are you using the skill tree in the right way? Path of Exile 2 is hard to understand at the beginning, especially for new players. And it is okay if you spend skill points in the wrong direction. However, I suggest you to follow my build guides so then you can make things right and spend your skill points in the most efficient way, depending on what build and playstyle you're trying to build. In PoE 2, earning skill points takes a lot of hard work, so it will be wise not to spend your skill points recklessly. Of course, you can refund your passive points later, but only at a cost, so following a specific setup is extremely useful. Also, understanding the passive skill tree can make or break your character, so investing more time in this specific section will definitely upgrade your knowledge of the game. The passive skill tree is divided into 3 different attribute areas, so strength, dexterity and intelligence. And each class has a different starting point on the passive skill tree, depending on their affinity to those attributes. If you are following a build guide, make sure to not deviate from it. Some of the decisions that I make might not make sense at first, but is going to pay off later. If you're looking for a full beginner guide with the skill tree, full breakdown and much more, then I recommend to watch my previous video. Second, we have that players waste important currencies. Just like skill points, the currency orbs and other currencies matter a lot. You have to be very conscious when spending the orbs. Although Path of Exile 2 offers some eye-catching items, in my honest opinion, you have to be very careful. Orbs and other currencies are very hard to earn in PoE 2, so it will be wise if you spend them only when needed. Many new players intend to buy every single item with the orb at the initial stage, and when they level up, they don't have enough orbs to upgrade the stuff or purchase the required items according to their character level. So please don't waste your orbs and other currencies, but spend them wisely. Farming currency and gear in PoE 2's endgame involves running maps, taking on bosses and engaging in other activities such as breaches, delirium and expeditions. With the right strategy, you can quickly acquire powerful items or enough currency to buy endgame gear from other players. For most people, a fully optimized endgame build will require approximately 1 mirror of the Calandra worth of gear, that are basically the uber rare / mythics for the Diablo 4 players, which could take anywhere from 100 to 200 hours of farming. So don't spend your currencies left and right, as it can save you a lot of hours of grinding. The next mistake is that players prioritize the wrong activities first. You've definitely heard me saying in a lot of my videos that PoE 2 is very grindy. So if you don't have a lot of time, prioritizing activities that will give you the most out of your time is definitely worth it. The whole endgame experience can be very complicated at the start. So here I've summarized the best activities that are worth your time to get the best gear possible. First, they should be self-explanatory, but after level 65 you should explore the Atlas of Worlds by using waystones to discover different endgame activities. Second, keep an eye out for relics to enhance the future runes and jewels to make your character stronger. Then third, I recommend to collect targeted items and soul cores to go into them. Fourth, there are also several endgame activities, each one gives their own rewards, so for a full endgame breakdown, watch my previous endgame video. Then fifth, breaches are 100% worth doing, as if you kill monsters quickly, you will gain powerful rewards, including cataclysms and breach rings. Then next, expeditions are also worth doing, as you can place explosives to explosively excavate undead horrors, to then defeat them for artifacts. Afterwards, you can trade these artifacts to the Kalgurans for a variety of rewards. Next, you also want to do a ritual, as you can sacrifice slain enemies in a circle and collect tribute, which you can then exchange for powerful crafting omens. And finally, look out for essences, as you can release chapped monsters only to kill them, to then loot essences. This is a very powerful crafting currency, that adds specific effects to your items. And a bonus tip, you can enhance these endgame mechanics using your Atlas passive tree. Also, as you participate in them, keep an eye out for keys to pinnacle boss encounters, where you can face off against PoE's 2 strongest enemies, and obtain special unique items. But uniques and everything about them require a whole dedicated video, so look out for that tomorrow as well. Then next we have a very simple mistake, but which I see very often players making, and it is not using the loot filter. It's really surprising that not many players know how to use a loot filter or its purpose in the game. Tons of loot will drop during your gameplay, and while you would love to pick them all, there's not enough space for it. The loot filters allow you to filter out the trash items, so you can only pick the items worth picking, and focus on clearing content instead of spending time to playing the inventory Tetris. So definitely go into settings and get your loot filter figured out. The same thing applies for just adding new keybinds or adjusting your settings to your own liking. I personally like to turn on quest tracking, clock, show corner map and auto center map, while I like to fine-tune the landscape transparency, map zoom, and I prefer to turn off the screen shake. I also recommend to turn on all live bars, tune the map and adjust cursor options to your preference. And finally, you have to put instant abilities on the left mouse button to use instantly while moving. This was a huge life improvement that I found out way too late. Next we have the overconfidence problem. Being overconfident has killed a lot of hardcore players in this game. Too many if you ask me. This holds true for softcore players too, because when they are dominating the easier content, players don't invest in essential items that make the build strong, which makes them hit a hard wall. These players then need to go back to the drawing board to see which aspect of their build is not synergizing properly. Instead, they just stop playing as they get frustrated, so either way you respect your passive tree or may need to start a new character altogether. So please spend the extra time researching and following the guides, as before making them, we invest countless of hours and we make our own mistakes so that you can avoid them and save yourself from that pain. The game punishes you incredibly if you're not clever in considering synergies. Even though you can get more equipment by farming, it is tough to refund the passive tree points you invested in. If you're trying out new things and new builds, it is okay to stick in for it till level 30, but after that it's waste of time. You can test out different skills you enjoy, and then find that build that works around that playstyle. When you have built your character around a specific skill, and worked on a guide for that, you will have a strong character at the end of the game to tackle the Atlas content. Atlas of Worlds and maps are the endgame mechanics, which will give you some of the best gear in the game. Then my next mistake more applies after reaching level 65 and when you've got to the maps, and it is that you don't choose the map. And by juicing I mean that you want to improve your maps by adding extra monsters, increasing mob density, and using scarabs, sectants and other methods to boost the number of mobs you kill per map. The Atlas of Worlds is an ever-expanding map, but you only get one attempt for each node. This means that if you fail a dangerous node during your exploration, you'll need to find another way to get to your desired goal. To enter the zone, you need a special item called the Waystone. These are craftable and drop with specific tier attached to them, which makes area more dangerous and more rewarding. You can use another consumable called tablets on Lost Towers to further customize the content you run. For example, you can add a breach tablet to add more breaches to your maps and make them more rewarding. These tablets are self-reinforcing, so the more tablets you use, the more tablets you drop for that mechanic. And during your exploration, you might find zones with special encounters. The first one is the bosses. These are very challenging and rewarding. Then next we have the precursor towers. These will reveal large area and will allow you to buff surrounding zones by using tablets. Next we have the League mechanic, which is a unique endgame encounter that I've made a whole entire video on, so check it out. Then we have the Beast Corruption, which is a special zone with corrupted modifiers. Then also we've got the Nameless Seer, which offers one unique item for free. Then also we have cities, in which you can find specific items hidden within the city. And finally we even have the special maps like the Untaunted Paradise, which gives a large amount of experience or other unique rewards. Then my next mistake was solo leveling. As well, this is not a huge mistake per se, but when I talk to most players, they're not even aware that group leveling does exist and how good it actually is. Leveling in Path of Exile 2 will demand careful planning and efficiency, especially as you approach higher levels. By using group play, leveraging efficient farming strategies, and continuously upgrading your gear, you can minimize the grind and reach level 100 much faster than if you were just attempting the journey alone. However, both of them have their advantages and disadvantages. So for example, if you choose to solo level, then you can level at your own pace without the reliance on others. You can also complete most activities without requiring to wait or coordinate with other players. You also gain more loot per player while during leveling. But then disadvantages are that you don't get any party XP bonuses, and higher tier maps may be more challenging at the start for a solo player. And then on the other hand, for group leveling, advantages are that you can do faster map clearing with an optimized team. You can also do rotations with friends or strangers, which reduces material cost. You also gain XP bonuses in a party based on the number of members. And finally, you can spread out in the campaign zones to quickly complete the side objectives. But then for the downsides, you get that potential delay when waiting on others in the group. You also get less freedom to pursue your own goals at any time. And finally, your group progression can be affected by under-level members. Then the next mistake that most players make is when deciding to craft or farm their gear. Ultimately, crafting, farming, and buying each have their pros and cons. When it comes to obtaining gear in Path of Exile 2, crafting offers potential to create top-tier items at a lower cost, but it requires significant game knowledge and a tolerance for RNG. Farming is a reliable way to earn consistent income, which can be used to either way trade for gear or craft it yourself. Buying, on the other hand, is the quickest method to get your desired items, but often comes at a premium price. I recommend to choose the method that suits your playstyle and budget. For those who enjoy the thrill of crafting and are looking for a rewarding experience, experimenting with crafting mechanics is ideal. If you're more focused on efficiency and prefer straightforward gameplay, then farming currency and trading may be the better option. Then your next mistake is not understanding the value of a starter build. And I may keep repeating myself, but in POE 2, builds play a huge role, more than even in other games for your character progression, so getting right in this department will be a huge deal. So first, you need to understand the term called the League Starter Build. This is a build/setup which is very beginner friendly, and is focused on starting with a reliable starter build that is good at clearing maps effectively and doesn't require expensive gear to function. In POE 1, every once in a while, the game would reset your progress. So then players come up with builds that focuses on leveling up quickly without hard gear to acquire. So this is why after reaching level 65, I strongly recommend to watch one of my videos for a starter build, depending on your class and ascendancy. And then finally, my last mistake, or more of a suggestion, is to grind high tier maps or rotations. The fastest way to gain experience is through running high density maps, or alternatively, joining 5-way Legion carries, or the Breachstone rotations for fast XP gain. At this point, there is a wide variety of methods available to level up, but choosing the one that fits your playstyle and resources is the key to success. Based on my experience and previous POE endgame strategies, we can deduct that 5-way carries in Legion encounters, Breachstones, and trial maps will remain some of the fastest ways to level in POE 2. However, if the meta changes, I will of course make an updated video. So let me introduce you to my favorite method of leveling, which is the 5-way Legion carries. Here the density of the monsters is extremely high, and with the help of Arrowbot, the carry player can clear the instance while you AFK and gain experience. By doing this, you can minimize the time spent grinding XP. So if you get someone to carry you, then you can farm currency for about 15 to 20 hours, and then spend 10 to 12 hours AFKing in these 5-way rotations to quickly level all the way to 100. So if you enjoyed this video, click like, subscribe and comment. If you're interested in more content, then check out my channel and I will see you in the next one. So take it easy, peace.